to set up. Mr. Vegas, the fabulous, world-renowned, our Caribbean's own Mr. Vegas, our host, Caron Greaves, in Trinidad with Come See TV Trinidad, Mr. Norbert Williams, Communications Director of Zandoli International, and here we are.
Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Why didn't
Right.
they use you to? Why didn't they use you to welcome the president here?
Well, I tell you, man, I tell you. It's a fight dong, man. Fight dong.
So let me ask you guys, did President Obama get the accent right when he asked Jamaicans Wagwan?
I don't know.
Did
I
he?
didn't see it.
I missed it. I've been busy putting on eyeliner to talk to you, Miss Greaves.
And you don't need it, Camille.
Thank you. I am still terrified of humanity. Like, I love humanity. I don't like people, so I hide a lot. Unlike Mr. Vegas, he'll be what I guess everyone's looking forward to seeing.
Of
So,
course.
Hey, so you
come on,
telling me
Mr.
nobody's
Vegas.
looking forward to seeing us? What's
I'm
I
going
don't
wondering why
want
I'm
on?
to.
not. I'm wondering. I'm wondering why I'm not seeing you guys. I'm gonna go
Oh,
on my laptop instead.
yes, do
Okay,
that.
so
When
click
you
off
got
and
on
he'll
a
call you
second,
back.
when you got on a second ago, it said somebody on the call won't be able to see because of the version that they have. So I guess that's because you're on a
Right.
mobile device.
Maybe.
Oh, so maybe I won't be able to see you guys.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
if
when you get
you
on the laptop. Yeah.
Try the
you
laptop.
probably can't do group calls on your phone, but if you go on your computer, you
Yeah,
can see.
I'm doing that now.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
So you're gonna hang up and we'll call you back?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
boss. I am excited. Thank you for having us. Thank you for agreeing on such a short notice.
Yes, yes. Well, again, it comes back to Mr. George. He's really been fabulous. We are just getting going on TV here in Trinidad, so it's all brand new to us, and we're really pleased to facilitate this outreach of Caribbean content and engagement to the rest of the world. So,
Exciting.
um,
Exciting. I'm
um,
happy we can be a part of it.
Exactly, exactly. And with such a very important issue, I was just doing some research before coming on, and looking at the stats. It's staggering. The only unfortunate thing is that it's all U.S. based. I couldn't find anything for the Caribbean, so that's
Wait,
one of the things I would want you guys to comment on.
with like the stats of rape and stuff? You
Yes.
know, we have a forensic psychologist that actually has those hard numbers, particularly for St. Lucia, and the people that would have it for the rest of the region, they're not here, and we don't have those report. I don't have them immediately in front of me. So
Right.
we can make an estimation. We can go with what you have and just say worldwide. Use
Yeah.
that terminology because with the region, and we're still gathering data. You
Of course.
know, we just did a census and found out how many businesses there were a few years ago and stuff like that. So rape crimes, we have the police reports, but those are a, a gross misrepresentation of the actual numbers of sexual assault crimes.
Well, even if we are to go with those, by and large, a general acceptance everywhere you go is that whatever figures are reported, 90% of the actual crimes go unreported. So you just
Absolutely.
multiply it by 10 to get a ballpark figure of exactly what's going on.
And Norbert is speaking as a former Royal St. Lucia Police Force police cop.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Babylon.
Yeah.
I have to remind Mr. Vegas that so he knows how he moved. No, I'm just joking.
No, but Norbert is quite right. The research did say 90% goes unreported, and it's 1 in 5 likely to be raped, women. And so I have some of that information. I'll just preface it by saying it's the United States.
And
Right.
in fact, there was some statistics released last year. Let me just pull that up quick.
Mr. Vegas?
He's still dialing in.
Royal St. Lucia Police Force, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. 2013 performance plan.
I have. You want the Royal St. Lucia Police Force numbers? I don't even know where I put that.
Yeah, they were just crime stats 2014.
I got it.
Actually, there's a YouTube video, Caron.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force released the 2013 crime statistics on Wednesday, an overall reduction in the crime rate on the island for the year 2013. The law enforcement agency revealed comparative reduction on overall crime levels between 2013 and 2012. Commissioner Vernon Fassois says he is pleased with the advancements of the force thus far. He hopes for further reductions in crime in 2014.
Probably discuss when we go live. Just to give people a sense of how prevalent rape and sexual abuse is, because awareness, I noticed, was one of the mandates of your organization. Camille?
Awareness, yes, and action, because we do a lot of awareness, and we kind of become aware, and then we just look at the problem and wait for somebody else to act.
Okay, I just pulled out only the sexual offenses for 2013.
That's just
276. So if you are to multiply that by 10, you're looking at 2,700, almost 3,000.
And St. Lucia has a population of under 200,000.
Yeah, under 160, 170. That fluctuates all over the place.
Instead of a number, give us a percentage of what that would be. What is that like?
What's that you said?
What is that?
That's 1,000, 170 by 5. A third of a percent. Hello.
I'm a little bit dark, right?
Oh, you all right?
No, great.
You're fine. Yeah. Welcome on board. It's great to have you.
We know one, no friend. Okay, let me stop.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
So did you meet President Obama today? Obama.
You know what happened, man?
No.
I sent in my request to meet him, but it didn't get there on time.
Okay.
It's okay. Next time.
Next time. So that's just about 2%, guys, if my math is correct.
Okay, so then use the number of the 2,000.
200.
But that's just for. I really don't want to just give a. You can give the number if you feel comfortable, Mr. Ex-Police Officer.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on. That's their figures. So I'm not. Hold on. Let me just do that. 160,000 divided.
Yeah, it's around what she said. Anyway, one of the important things we did want to address, especially with Obama in Jamaica, is the International Megan's Law, which is we have sex offender registries in Jamaica and Trinidad, not St. Lucia, which is what we're pushing for. But International Megan's Law was passed in January this year, and it requires that agencies in the U.S. Report of sex offenders traveling outside of the U.S., report them to the agencies in the foreign jurisdictions, destinations that they are traveling to. So like Norbert always says, it's not will this ever happen, but when will it happen? Because eventually the United States will expect the Caribbean neighbors to reciprocate.
Right.
All right. Okay, so are we going to go live now?
Is my name under my video? Because I don't see it here.
It is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear a little feedback.
Yeah, there's a little feedback.
Okay.
I think Norbert said that you can cancel out any background noise on his side.
I don't have any noise here.
You're okay, kids.
Right.
I put my kid to take a nap. I'm like, just in case.
Okay, how's that now? Is that okay?
All right. Yes.
All right.
All right.
So, go.
So okay. Let me just check in with Mr. George and make sure that. Yeah. Robert, you're taking us live, right?
Am I?
So I'm just verifying with George.
Oh, George. Oh, I thought you said Norbert.
Yeah, she did ask you that.
Yeah, I asked if you were.
Okay, so what happened here? Mr. Vegas dropped off.
Oh,
just
yeah.
froze. He'll be back maybe. Do you have like some Mr. Vegas music to play like in between?
Yeah, it was I don't have it, but I'm hoping that Norbert, you might have it. But I did.
Hold on a second there. Hold on a second. What is going on?
You could play "We Know One a Friend from Them." That's appropriate. Not Gallus, as much as I love that one. Maybe you could play Gallus.
Yeah. I wrote a few down. Heads high.
That's
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can play My Jam. That's decent, and that's he did a remix featuring Pitbull. So, and that's his latest single, My Jam. You could play the one with him and Beyonce.
And there's also him and Marshall Montano Dance With You, and him and Destra On the Floor.
Okay, so right. But the one with him and Beyonce and the one with him and Pitbull are like the ones
most recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta call him back, Norbert.
Oh. Lindsay is saying that we've been live since 5.
Oh, we have been. Oh.
Let me just say, really?
Well, I guess we've been live.
Good. So did we say anything that was not supposed to?
Yeah. He says yes. Okay, well, I guess. All right.
Mr. George, how could you? I feel betrayed.
He said he's been messaging. I haven't seen. Just a minute. Oh, this is. Let me see if I have him here.
Norbert, can you?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. This is
After the fact.
Yes, it is. Well, nobody told me, but we're doing fine.
The wonders of live media, right?
That's right.
I'm like terrified now. I really want to run and hide under a rock.
Well, too late for that. So you gotta sit there and
bear.
That's right.
Mr. George says that we've been all natural, so it's all good.
So, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our program this afternoon. I'd like to introduce from St. Lucia, Norbert and Camille, and they are associated with the CCASC, based in St. Lucia. And this evening we'll be talking about sexual abuse challenges that we have in the region and worldwide with assault against women. And it's really relevant, particularly now, as we have recently seen the passing of the international Megan's Law. And so I'd like to just invite Camille to chime in and tell us a little bit about the organization and this particular law that has been passed in the U.S.
Sure. So Zandoli International Foundation, we are based in New Jersey, and we started as a St. Lucian organization to address issues concerning the underprivileged and underrepresented populations of, St. Lucian people in St. Lucia and within the diaspora. However, we grew so fast, we exponentially grew faster than we anticipated, gaining members and volunteers and partner organizations in now up to 19 countries. That includes Germany, Switzerland, the United States, of course, where we're based. We have a branch in St. Lucia, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and throughout. I could name them all, but too lengthy. So on January 26th, we petitioned the government of St. Lucia to establish a national sex offender registry, and we were met with a lot of resistance and opposition, as you would expect with most new things. But we persevered, we continued our campaign, and we were really strong with a month-long media relations campaign, and we were successful at sensitizing the people of St. Lucia in regards to why it's necessary to know who sex offenders are, to kind of clear up the reasons, because a lot of people thought that this was just to vilify and demonize offenders, when no, it's preventative measures to protect, these occurrences in the future. So,
go ahead, Camille. Yeah.
No, Norbert, if you can explain the International Megan's Law and how that is important, especially concerning what we're trying to do.
Well, as far as the U.S. is concerned and the International Megan's Law, we don't have the specific details on exactly how they're going to implement it. But basically, what it is legislation which was signed into effect in January this year by the U.S. Congress. And any individual who has been convicted of a sex crime and is on the Sex Offender Registry from any state in the U.S., on check-in at the airport, either it's going to be a flag or an identifier on their passport when it's swiped at the terminal. This will bring up that they are a sex offender, and the country that they're traveling to will be informed of their sex offender status. Now, what we're contending is that although this is a good thing for the country where that offender is traveling to, we have to expect that the US will eventually want to have a reciprocating agreement with other countries. And we see it as the beginning of a notification system for countries which do not have those in place, particularly our small islands in the Caribbean. And what we're saying is, now that we have brought the discussion to the fore, we have made it an important issue to discuss. We've sensitized the public. We're saying that instead of having to wait for the US to make those demands on us, and instead of waiting for anybody else to do so, particularly knowing the history of sex offenses that we've had in the islands and of epidemic proportions for decades, we have all the anecdotal evidence, we have the statistics. Almost every one of us know personally or friends and family who have been affected by some form of sex crime, whether it's child molestation, whether it's rape, whatever it is, we know of it existing in our communities. And the problem is that many people look at our objective right now in getting a sex offender registry in St. Lucia, or whether it's going to become a more regional sex offender registry now that the discussion has taken on larger dimensions than it has before by just being localized to the individual islands. A number of people seem to have the misguided notion that a sex offender registry is intended to be the end all and be all to fighting sex crimes in St. Lucia or in the region. And what we're saying at Zandoli and with the Caribbean Committee Against Sex Crimes is that you have to look at fighting crime, and in this instance, sex crimes, from more than one perspective. There's the prevention side of things, there's the law enforcement side of things, there's the legislature, there's the prison system, and there's also treatment for offenders if it's required, and there's also therapy and treatment for the victims themselves. And an important part of the Sex Offender Registry is giving parents and guardians the power and the ability to know who and decide exactly who their children have access or who has access to their children. Many people argue that most of the time the sex offenders aren't known. Well, with all the laws we have on our books, that doesn't guarantee that you'll know anyone. However, what we're saying is that offenders will be known because persons who have committed sex crimes, the propensity for a reoccurrence or the likelihood of a potential danger to your child exists. And whether they go on to commit those offenses again or not isn't really an issue. The issue is that parents have all the tools available to protect their children. Now, one of the things that the police, particularly in the US, have agreed upon is an effective means of law enforcement is community policing. And even with this community policing, as it has been adopted in St. Lucia and a number of other islands in the Caribbean, even with community policing, the police can't be everywhere at the same time. Therefore, the reason for that community policing is to develop a more intimate relationship with police officers, maybe from the area, or persons who have vested interests. And once you have developed that rapport with the police, then it is easier for the members of the public to come to the police with information. Neighborhood watch is the same, is coming from the same thinking as well. So if we can say that law enforcement has recognized the importance of the input from members of the public, if we are to look at what we know, lists, FBI most wanted, or pictures of wanted persons on TV or in the post office, who are they appealing to with those lists? Members of the public. So why shouldn't, yes?
Just 1 second. If you could call Mr. Vegas back.
Right.
He just sent me a message, said
Okay.
cut off the call and try back.
Okay. Let's
Sorry
try
to
him again.
interrupt.
Let's try him again.
Yeah.
Mr.
So
Vegas.
while Norbert is doing that, maybe Camille, you can tell us a little bit more about the program that you all are putting in place. I realized from the video you sent me before, you have 5 action pillars to petition the public to partner with organizations to educate, to treat, and to be involved in legislation. Now, we were speaking earlier about the impact of awareness, and that awareness plus action then means that we will be proactively treating with this disease. Talk to us a little bit about how successful you've been in the past with your activities regarding the awareness campaign, and then what actions you've been able to activate and put in place.
Okay, so initially this just started as the little Zandoli, one organization that petitioned our government of St. Lucia, and it became very complicated because then it became a partisan issue, and we want it to be a political issue, but not associated with any particular party in office or the opposition, whichever. So the easiest way for us to keep this a community subject was to involve the other regions. And so we reached out to other organizations and NGOs throughout the region, and they were more than willing and ready to come on board, because many people in the different countries, different states in CARICOM and within OECS have been trying to say something and do something in their own neighborhoods and areas about this. So us banding together was the strategic effort to keep it away from the stench of political gang rivalry that it's natural. As much as we hate it, it comes with the territory. We In March, we launched the Caribbean Community Against Sex Crimes, which is the CCASC, and that right now, I believe we have up to 34 organizations within the Caribbean Committee Against Sex Crimes. Our goal is 50 organizations. After that, we're working with UNICEF. We are partnered with UNICEF Champion for Children St. Lucia, and UNICEF Champion for Children, after we reach our goal of 50 organizations, will take our petition to the heads of OECS and CARICOM to ask that they consider this issue as part of a means to harmonize with the already existing social policies.
All right. Thanks, Camille. Let's now, listeners, we are trying to bring the one and only Mr. Vegas online with us. As most of you would know, Mr. Vegas has been nominated for the Soul Train Award for Best Reggae Artist in 2010, and he has a number of hits compiled both with regional superstars like Machel Montano and Destra, as well as international artists like Beyonce. So we're trying to get him online, and Norbert is working feverishly to add him on, but technology seems to be giving us a bit of a look at this time. Now, while that's happening, just wanted to let you know that this program is being brought to you through the kind collaboration of Come See TV. Can You See Me Now? Um, and we'd like to say hello to our CEO, Mr. Lindsay George, who's in Dominica. Hi, Lindsay.
Hey, Mr. George.
Thanks so much for facilitating this very important discussion. Norbert, I don't know if I can have you multitask a bit. Earlier on, when we were prepping for the conversation, you were able to pull some statistics on the prevalence of crime in St. Lucia. Do you have that available you can share with the listeners?
Right. Well, actually, since we're on the agenda of sex crimes, the latest figures from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force for 2013 list sex crimes in St. Lucia as 276 for 2013, and the previous year something of 315 or something of the sort. So there was a decline in the number of sex crimes. However, one of the things which has remained constant in a number of the countries that we've looked at with statistics on sex crimes is across the board, it seems to be, and it has been well accepted, that the numbers or the number of reported sex crimes are significantly lower than those which have actually occurred. And according to the numbers that we have, it is said that 90% of sex crimes go unreported. And as a matter of fact, just recently in St. Lucia, there was an interview, a street interview by Rick Wayne, speaking to a number of women in St. Lucia and asked them about the likelihood of them reporting a rape. And they said, absolutely no. Now, if we are to look at the figures for St. Lucia for 2013 at 273, and figure that this only represents 10% of the potentially affected persons according to generally accepted statistics, we're looking at something like about 2,700 to 3,000 persons sexually assaulted, abused in St. Lucia. And that basically works out to be almost 10 persons every day. This is a very serious issue. And this is only for 1 year. If we have to extrapolate that to the periods of years before and try to calculate even over 10 years, that's easily 30,000 people, men, women, children. So we're seeing that walking every day on the streets are persons who are seriously affected in whatever way, whether psychologically, in whatever way this has affected them. Now, if we have to multiply that by the islands in the region, if you look at St. Vincent, there's been a whole big discussion on sex crimes in St. Vincent with just recently the outing of a woman who had to run away to Canada because of a sex crime, an attempted rape or a rape on her. And she had to return to St. Vincent. And an individual decided that it was appropriate for them to out her, disclose her name, and to refute her allegations of rape. So there is also a deeply embedded culture of high sexuality that is targeting vulnerable people, children particularly. And since Zandoli began our campaign towards the end of January, early February this year, we've received numerous reports from sex abuse or sex crime victims. And what we're finding out is a common thread through all of them is that a lot of that child molestation and sexual abuse began when they were 8 or 9 years old. So we find that a lot of our school-age children are being affected by molestation, whether it's in the home. We have stories of people molesting them on the streets, picking them up. And one of the things which is at the core and accepted, particularly in St. Lucia, is what we refer to as sooty-wares, enablers, people who cover up, people who accept monies. And sad but true, very often these people are the mothers of these children who accept payoffs, or people accept tickets to New York so that they could disappear. And this is at the heart of the problem, and we have to deal with these individuals who encourage crime in that manner. This is a big problem.
Thanks for that, Norbert. I'd like at this time. Thanks, Norbert. I'd like at this time to just interject. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together virtually and welcome Mr. Clifford Smith, better known as Mr. Vegas. Yay!
Hi,
so,
how
Mr.
are you?
Vegas, it's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Vegas. I'm thrilled to have you on board, and I really want to compliment you on your involvement with Jamaican Men Against Abuse, this organization that you've been involved with in recent times. Now, we know you in the dance hall arena with big hits like Heads Up, Rock It Down, Hot Walk, Party Time, and so on. And of course, being Trini, I must big up Marshall, Dance With You, and Destra on the floor. So, what caused you to become interested in a crime that is mainly perpetrated against women? Because the stats I looked up, US based, says that only 3% of men encounter the violation of rape. How did you become involved in this very important social issue?
Thanks for having me on the program. Of course, bless up to everyone. How did I get involved? First of all, I grew up with my mom, so I have a level of respect for women that goes way beyond even words I can say. So I've seen my mom basically, tread the hard road to take care of us. So the respect for women, is way up. And on the other hand, I could have easily been a person that, gets real aggressive or violent or stuff like that towards women, because I've seen it all. And a lot of kids, whether we choose to believe it or not, they take what they learn from their home and they live with that, you know, sometimes for the rest of their lives, because it's a norm for them to grow up and see stuff like that. You know, when it comes down to abuse, you know, I myself had to really pull myself to and challenge myself and you know, because you have to look in the mirror first before you can point fingers at people. You know, so I looked in the mirror and I did not like the ugly side, you know, of what, you know, I had done, you know. And when it comes down to rape and child abuse, that is something that, you know, is real a reality of things I saw. People have been around, females have been around, young females, older females, and I've seen how it traumatized women, especially women. You know, not saying that they are not, you know, men that are, you know, being victims as well, but I've been around women who have seen it all, where they actually go back to the place of, you know, where it happened, and nightmares and stuff like that, and people screaming out in their sleep, all kind of stuff. So I've seen it all, and I can tell you stories for days, you know, that I cannot understand how someone will take away a woman's rights like that, you know.
Yes, to say no.
Right. So that is something very passionate. You know, I'm very passionate about, especially when it comes down to little kids. You know, like, you know, there are cases in Jamaica where, you know, one case that really sits with me, and I think it will for the rest of my life, is a 6-year-old girl called Shanika Anderson, and, you know, her mom was selling at the market, and the next thing we know, that she was missing, and the next thing we know, that she was, you know, a victim, and it was so gruesome. I cannot even tell you about how gruesome it was, you know, here.
Right. Mr. Vegas, tell us, Jamaican Men Against Rape, what year did you all get started? And additionally, your association with Zandoli International Foundation.
Well, actually, Zandoli and Nyla, I posted a video on my social media, because my social media is basically my radio station or my television station to get things out there. And I posted a video.
700,000 followers.
Right, yeah, close to there. So there was an situation at the University of the West Indies here in Jamaica, where this young lady, she was going about her business, and some guys basically, you know, tried to reach out to her, and, you know, the next thing, you know, she was being battered and bruised and, you know, all kind of stuff. So I posted a video, and of course, you know, a lot of people, first of all, was touched by the video and stuff like that, and me myself admitting that, you know what, it's an ugly side to even think, you know, to even look at yourself when you hit someone, a female. You know, so of course, you know, Nyla reached out to me, and Camille, and we've been close ever since, because it's really challenging when you're trying to accomplish a foundation or set up a foundation here in Jamaica, because you do not get that support. You know, people that, you know, I've been trying to set up Jamaican Men Against Rape for over 5 years, over 6 years. I've been ridiculed. People said, oh, Mr. Vegas must have been molested. Oh, he's coming out the closet now because he's been molested and stuff like that. And, you know, it's really challenging, you know, to do, you know, to set up this type of awareness and foundations here in Jamaica, because it is just like, I don't think people care, you know, how they should care about, you know, these type of situations. When we have songs that get the biggest forward in our dancehall community and in our culture, we have songs like basically a guy saying before he becomes gay, he would rather be a rapist, you know, and then people ball forward and rave, you know, to a song like that, and I find it disturbing. So you know, just basically, so that's when you think about something like that, you realize how challenging it is for a person like one person to take on this, role and try to create the awareness and try to put stoppage to what we can put stoppage to, or whatever, or we can help, assist.
So in terms of your advocacy using social media to bring awareness to the situation for the last 5 years, Mr. Vegas, have you seen like that tipping point yet and it's not only Jamaica, of course, throughout the Caribbean, we all enjoy carnival. It's part of our DNA. And of course, in Barbados, it's walk up, in Trinidad is wind down. I'm not sure exactly what you call it in St. Lucia, but it's part of who we are and it's part of our expression. How do we get men to respect our women, our children, when our cultures are so sexually charged?
Well, you have to understand that everyone, you know, have their rights. So I'm saying everyone has their rights. It will be the same way. A guy is going to tell you that, oh, she was in my house, so that means he has the right, to do whatever he wants to with that person. So seeing a woman dress a certain way or seeing a woman dance in a certain way does not give anyone the right to use that to your advantage.
To interject here, in fact, many people, if you want to take this further, many people will use that excuse and say, well, it's the music or it's the way that somebody is dressed. But even in a marriage, you can have a woman calling rape if she does not want to. So if in the most sacred of all relationships, where it is expected that you would perform whatever is required of you, and a woman decides to say no, then it is no. So if this can apply within a marriage, for anybody outside there, you can say no as well.
Well,
So
the sad thing about our world, and now we have social media that can analyze and social media that can get an insight into what people are thinking. I saw a video the other day where two guys basically, had a girl, she looked very young, and they had her in a house, and she was basically saying no, 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 and the guys were basically, taking, advantage of, the way they could take advantage with the camera on, and I read the comments under that video with a girl there crying her eyes out and saying no, no, please stop, please stop. And the comments, if you read the comments, people were saying like stuff like, what was she doing there, all kind of stuff, she should have not have been there, that you get to be there, and stuff like that. I'm like, when is it okay for someone to be wherever you are, that someone that can just take advantage of you? And that is a reality of our world that we're living in. People think that they have the right to someone privilege, when they're in their space.
So let me at this point, gentlemen, I'm not sure if Camille is still with us.
She's here, but I don't know. I'm not hearing anything from her. Let me cancel that.
She's listening. She's listening.
Oh, she is. Okay.
So again, one of the things that I think we would have to do to become advocates to proactively treat with reciprocating U.S. Institutes the registry of sex offenders and notifying Caribbean communities when young Caribbean men mainly are deported from the U.S. Many of them left our shores when they were toddlers. They don't have any ties and roots in the Caribbean, and then they come back to the Caribbean and they're already challenged by the disease. So some of the stats that I pulled off of the US site, and it's from the HuffingtonPost.com site, and the writer spoke about 50 facts about rape. And it comes back to what you were saying, Norbert. On the low estimation of reported rapes in the US, it's 300,000. On the high estimation, the high end of the spectrum, the CDC says it's about 1.3 million. And this is annually. And they go on to say that not reported, rapes that are not reported, 54%. Now, chances of a woman being raped in the US, 1 in 5. That's extreme. Chances of a woman being impregnated as a result of rape, 32,000. And in the world, the US is ranked 13th in the world in terms of the prevalence of rape. Now, we were saying that I was unable to find that information for Trinidad and Tobago from our Rape Crisis Society, where they provide hotline services, emergency support, protection for children. going after legislation to protect the vulnerable in society and empowering women and advancing, the social development and research on this matter. And just before I open up the floor for you guys to comment on some of these stats, what jumps out at you, I'd like to commend Mr. George. COMC TV, this Caribbean-based internet streaming organization out of Dominica. We have agents all over the world, in fact. And he is one of those advocates for women's empowerment. In fact, the company is almost 70% female, and not only in the administrative positions, but also in the C-suite. So you have women in executive leadership roles at COMC TV. What do you all think can happen for the victims in terms of support? I know we've spoken a lot about the crime itself, but the victims, what do we have in place that will support persons to, one, come forward and report rapes more, and also to support them when they're broken?
Well, if I'm to come in here now, one of the things that we find, which is a significant part of the reluctance of victims to come forward, is the reaction or the response of the community. And just like you said earlier, very often you find that the victim is blamed. What were you doing there? Or why didn't you fight? Or how is it only after so many years you're saying something? And the problem is the response which is received. And we all have heard the stories of an underage child, a 10-year-old girl, a 12-year-old girl, 15, 17, even a woman who's in her 20s or older, coming forward and making a report. And the first response that they get is, you sure? You sure you didn't make a mistake? He's a nice man. And immediately the excuses start being made for the perpetrator of the crime. Well, don't worry about that. You're a young person. He's married. He has children. You're going to mess up his job. He has a good job. Don't worry about that. You'll get over it. And what inadvertently happens is you're protecting the perpetrator to continue the act again, because each time someone is covering for them, someone is making an excuse, someone is pressuring a victim. I was just speaking with a victim of sex crime. As a matter of fact, her boyfriend had relations with her underage daughter, who was 13 years old at the time. And she took the matter to court. And while she was on her job, the perpetrator's mother came to her on the job and offered her land, property, to drop the case. Right? And usually when these tactics don't work, then they try to intimidate the victims. They try to be violent. And people from their families, people from the society, they try to ostracize these people because they've come out and spoken up against Mr. So-and-so, or this person's son, or that person's relative. And if we are to deal with the prevalence of sexual crimes in the Caribbean, we have to do something about the protection networks that exist to let these people get off all the time. Whether it's the police officers who are friends with them, who drag their feet on cases, who don't turn up, who cause evidence to disappear, we have to deal with this from multiple different levels. That I think is the first step. And then what we have to continue doing is having more efficient and effective judicial systems. Because we have, for example, in St. Lucia, a judicial system which is, for all intents and purposes, practically non-existent. The simplest of offenses will lag and roll in the mud and take years. And very often, you may even find individuals who, because of this broken system, are on remand for longer periods of time than if they had been convicted of the crime they were arrested for in the first place. Right. So you have a system that is broken, that needs to be looked at. So when you put all the different pieces of dealing with these offenses, the prevention, the sex offender registry, law enforcement, the judicial system, treatment for victims particularly, then you're going to have an environment which is more conducive and more of a deterrent. Because you commit a crime and nothing happens, there are other people looking out there and they say, well, you know, boy, he get away, nothing happened, he got a slap on the wrist, he's been out for 10 years on bail, nothing happening. So there is no immediacy, there is no urgency to recognizing the penalties that can be had for committing those offenses. So we have to do something about that. I would say that this is, if not the primary cause or the primary factor which allows a lot of these crimes to continue in the region.
Yes. And of course, you know, thanks for that, Norbert. No, we know that justice must not only be done, but it must appear to be done. And
That's
natural
right.
laws of justice, people must have the opportunity for redress. Mr. Vegas, I want to come back to you. In
Right.
Jamaica, um, can you share with us any of the improvements that are being made via legislation, support groups, um, for persons who are affected by the violence of rape, sexual abuse? We haven't touched on incest, but we know that that's another of the ills that affects the Caribbean community.
That is
Could you share
huge.
with us, yes, what's happening in Jamaica in terms of support?
Well, I've not done any research to look at the improvement, or if there is any thing that any new thing recently that you know has been put into place. But what I do know, there's a upsurge in some of these cases where basically young girls, young schoolgirls, as you said, incest and stuff like that, and just young girls are getting pregnant. Some, some are victims at the end of the day, end up being murdered, stuff like that, because some of these perpetrators, they don't want to go to prison, and they think the best way that they could have dealt with the situation is to killing these girls. So the last, I would not say there is an improvement. If there is, I don't want to say there's not, and there is, but I'm not, that is not to my knowledge. The last time I checked, as this year alone, there were like a news every week of 11-year-old getting pregnant by a 52 years old man, and the police would not, arrest him and charge him because he had an accident, I think, with one of his leg being, cut off or stuff like that. So that person, I think, when you're not under arrest or you're not being charged, that means you have access to the victims. Yes. And you can already, you can go in there and do what you have to do, basically bribe the family, threaten the family, so forth and so on, as Mr. Noble spoke about earlier. So that is what I do know. There is, I'm hearing more cases, to make it short. I'm hearing more cases. Basically, a 14 years old girl got pregnant by, a relative, boyfriend, stuff like that. It's just like, tragic cases. That's all I'm hearing. I'm not seeing or not hearing, I'm not hearing where there is any center put in place basically to counsel some of these victims. I'm not, hearing anything about, a 14 years old girl, she have that baby. What is she going to become? A mother, and no furthering of her education and stuff like that. Where's the system for that? Where's the setup for that to assist some of these people to continue some of these victims to continue school? So I'm not hearing any of these things. So I cannot tell you that, what, we're improving and it's getting better, because for years I've been trying to get support, and I'm only seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, since I started, this relationship with Camille and Nyla. That I'm basically feeling like, what, I'm with a group of people that is not only thinking that, oh, he might look fame from it. because that's the problem we have within our society. People think that, oh, Mr. Vegas is coming out and talking about, you know, abuse victims and rape victims because it's some benefit at the end of the tunnel for me. You understand? Not looking at, you know what, he has daughters and he has families and he has sisters and he has mothers, and it's something that is very dear, to me. To see, a society where women can walk around and dance the way you want to dance, and it's your rights. You understand? So that's the problem we have. We keep pointing fingers at each other and thinking that because our mind is so way off in doing stuff, and we think everyone is going to have the same mindset. So before we try to come together, and strengthen each other, we try to tear each other down by thinking that, oh, I don't want that person to be using my name or using my foundation name. So those are some of the challenges why we will not get anywhere. Another thing I want to say quickly is, we have to stop treating victims like as Mr. Noble said, like they're the criminals. Our court system need to be set up. I think there are other countries that we could look at. That victims, they're being protected and they have a better way of dealing, because some of these victims, they don't come forward because they feel like they're on trial. Right. You understand? Yes. I have close people that is very close to me that they actually could point out the people that did them wrong, and these guys walk free because oh, it was too dark, oh, he had on his cap, or just and okay, it was dark, he had on his cap, so what about the DNA? What about a data bank for DNA? Are we using those things that a lot of other countries are using here in Jamaica, here in the West Indies?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing if I could just expand on what Mr. Vegas said, which is a significant part of the problem as well. We all know that statutory rape in the region, primarily because of our British legal system, is 16 years old, age of consent. Yet still, that's right. Yet still, we have so many young girls turning up at the hospital, 13 years and 14 years old, who are pregnant, and nobody gets arrested. What is going on? Where is the disconnect there? Where is the problem? How is this possible that nobody gets prosecuted when all of these young girls, and we know about it throughout all of our communities, who turn up at the hospital pregnant, and then they're just young girls pregnant, and that's it.
Well, Mr. Noble, you already hit the nail on the head. Why that happens in a lot of cases? That is most of the time it's the parents. You understand? Most of the time, is parents not coming forward with information. Some of the times, the law is, the system cannot even get to conduct a proper investigation because the parents, are not coming forward. The parents are taking bribes. And these little young girls, what are they going to do? They have nowhere to go and live. They have nowhere. You understand? So of course, if your mother is going to say, oh, don't say anything, then chances are a child is not going to say anything. You understand? And there's another problem that we have to also look at as well. We have to be careful how we raise our kids, because you know what? A lot of us, is looking for the outside world to do what we're supposed to be doing. Because you might have a kid and she's 14 years old and she looks like she's 18 or 19. And she's walking around telling people that she's 18 or 19 years old. And, a lot of men get into problems, that way as well. I just saw a popular entertainer daughter, and we were at her mother's birthday party, and she's tall, of course, and she's, looking like a 17, 18 years old. And she was hugging up everyone and rubbing on everyone. And my friend had to grab her and said, oh, how old are you? And she said, oh, I'm 17. And my friend just basically scolded her right there and said, you're 14. And I said to her, you can't tell people you're 17 years old. You're inviting problems. Because if you're rubbing up yourself against these guys and telling them you're 17, a lot of people, they're not going to take the precautions like, what other men would say. A lot of men, they don't think about that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
One of the things we haven't mentioned before we get back to the register, which I'd like us to concentrate on a little bit, is the sexually transmitted diseases. So yes, there's the pregnancy, there's the incest, there's the crime, statutory rape, but then there are also sexually transmitted diseases that affect the victims for their lives. Now, some of them are so overwhelmed and blame themselves for the tragedy that they even think the only option they have is suicide. So that this major rip in the continuum of their life then manifests itself in all sorts of ways that really put them in this downward spiral. And your point, Mr. Vegas, about the protection of our young people, and not only our women, our young girls, but also the boys. The education that is the mandate of all the organizations in this discussion, and then, as Camille was saying earlier, backing it up with action. So, just as we were getting you on, Mr. Vegas, Norbert was talking about the law and reciprocating in terms of the U.S. sending notification on for persons who would be coming into the Caribbean region and are registered sex offenders. And the proactiveness that we will be charged with, I imagine, to advise our governments and our institutions to put things in place before it's imposed on us by the US. What do you all think we need to do right now and extend it out a year from now to get ready for having that collaboration with the US and providing information about offenders coming and or going to the States?
Well, I'll take that. What Zandoli International Foundation is doing with the St. Lucia situation is that we're on the verge of petitioning the government to establish or institute a sex offender registry. We have an online petition, and the slogan for that is what's right behind there. We want to know, because we think it's everybody's right to know who these people are in our midst. Now, there is the argument about our size and we can't implement a sex offender registry like the US or other countries because we're so small and because we have limited resources. But we don't have to implement a sex offender registry exactly the way they do. And if the argument is going to be put forward that we are small, then we're saying that the resources that we need to implement our own sex offender registry would be commensurately smaller.
Right.
And what we're saying is the significance of this is we now have the CSME, the Caribbean Single Market Economy. And St. Lucia has been at the forefront of this agreement between a number of the islands in the region in implementing a number of the arrangements of that agreement. And one of them is the free flow of citizens throughout
the Caribbean. Yeah.
And you don't need a passport. You can have a regular driver's license or regular ID. And a Vincentian can travel to St. Lucia. And a Dominican can travel to St. Lucia and vice versa. And what we're saying is, although we're looking to implement a St. Lucian sex offender registry, there has to come the progressive part of this to encompass the entire region, because it makes no sense to register St. Lucians and you have people from Dominica and the other islands who can travel freely who would not be included on this. So it's basically developing a false sense of security. If you have these people who can come in and stay indefinitely, they can work without a work permit, they can travel back and forth as they want, what mechanism do you have in place for individuals to be able to check? Because according to our national security minister some time ago, he said that, well, the system, or we, the system, which means law enforcement, know who the offenders are. But we don't know who the offenders are from St. Vincent when they could travel freely, and there is no communication of this. So what do we do? So either we have to kick it off somewhere to get the ball rolling, just as St. Lucia kicked it off with the open borders thing, just like in the European Union, and everybody else follow suit. And then we decide on having a regional sex offender registry. It is necessary because we know very well that this has been a very serious problem in the region for a long, long time.
So, Norbert, let me be devil's advocate. Now, we know that the sex offenders register allows governments and authorities to keep track of the residents, their activities, their goings and comings. What do you say then to persons who oppose the establishment of sex offender registries by means of a violation of the sex offenders' civil rights?
Well,
What do you say to those people?
well, that is an argument that a number of people bring up. And what we at Zandoli International Foundation are saying, and what we have agreed on in our discussions with a number of other organizations throughout the region, is that regardless of a sex offender registry being put in place and those offenders being put on there, we still have laws against violence, against crimes against persons. So whether you're on a sex offender registry or not, you still have rights. As a matter of fact, in St. Lucia, we have a number of persons who have been convicted of sex offenses, and they're well known throughout the community, the communities that they live in, or they may be known because of people putting the story out there or remembering when the case was in court. And what I often say is that St. Lucians are a very forgiving people, very much to their own detriment. And you find these sex offenders out and about everywhere. Nobody has taken any actions against them. Nobody has assaulted them. We understand very well that people can be inclined to do those things. But those inclinations are not only for sex offenses. People are inclined to take actions for all sorts of other offenses as well. And if those things happen, then they will be dealt with the law according to the law. It's plain and simple. You cannot say that because a possibility exists, that you're going to keep your people in a state of vulnerability. This doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense at all. So we're saying that the sex offender registry can exist, but people, the public, have to be informed, they have to be sensitized and educated that just like any other crime which has been committed, and you have persons who have been convicted, that they cannot take the law into their own hands. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Yeah, so guys, we're coming up on 6:38 here in Trinidad, and of course I know we're in the same time zone, so we'll be looking to wrap at around 7. So as we're getting there, I want to give each of you an opportunity, one, to share your contact information, your various websites, and or Facebook information where people can engage and interact with you via social media, and then any burning issues, any compelling statements you need to make before we get to the 7 o'clock hour at the top of the hour here. So I'll go to Mr. Vegas first.
My website is JAMAR Cares. Not my Facebook. I mean, is JAMAR Cares. That is Jamaican Men Against Rape. Cares. We're always there. We're always there. You know, if I'm not personally answering people, someone is there. You know, Gail Crawford or other people that I basically work with. So we're there and we try to answer as and correspond with as much people as we can. So that is where people can find me when it comes on to any time and type of situation that they might be going through.
Okay. Great, thanks for that. And in terms of new music and new ventures and entertainment from Mr. Vegas, what can we look forward to?
Well, I just released a song called My Jam with Pitbull. It was used as the Zumba World Happiness Day song. So we're basically, trying to bring a smile to people's face at the same time, with going about our business. So people can look forward to that right about now.
Okay, fabulous. As we finish here, I'm definitely go on YouTube and check it out.
Yeah, man. Make sure you have your make sure you have your Zumba, outfit on. You can do the Zumba moves.
Right.
Well, being Trinidadian, I think I'm predisposed to having a bit of rhythm. So, I'll let you know how that goes.
Well, yeah, ain't got much challenge, because I have two left feet, so don't worry.
Oh, don't try that, Mr. Vegas. I know that your name, Mr. Vegas, came about because of your exploits on the football field, kicking like a.
It's not everything you read. It's not everything you read. Is the way it is put out there.
So I'm hoping that when we see each other, this virtual introduction, fantastic having you on. But when we see each other, you tell me a little bit more about that Las Vegas dancing steps that you got your name for and famous for. Norbert,
Well,
talk to us a little bit about Zandoli and what you'd like our listeners to know just before we wrap.
well, Zandoli is a fairly young organization, as Camille had stated earlier. We're just about pulling up on our 1 year of operations in July. We're at www.zandoli.org. That's ZANDOLI.org. All our contact information is on there. The website is overflowing with information on just about everything of importance with sex crimes and other information, educational information. You go on there, everything is on there. We're also on Facebook. You just pull up a search on Facebook for Zandoli, Zandoli, and you will pull us up there. Our logo is right on there. Email addresses are on the website. You can contact us on Zandoli. You can like the page. You can send us a message. Zandoli.org and Zandoli Facebook page is open 24/7, 365. If you wait too long, you might get a free drink. You never know.
Right. All right. Okay then. I'm getting a message from Camille, but I'm not sure that I'm reading it too right. So there's a mention about some of the other partners who wanted to be online here with us this evening. Unfortunately, they were unable to make it. I think, if I'm reading this correctly, it's Leave Out Violence from St. Vincent, Nyla John, and I can be corrected on that. So if Camille can just give me a little heads up here. Oh, I think she's been dropped. Technology
Okay, I'll
is.
get her back again.
All right, great. So while we're waiting for Camille to come back on, I'd like to thank our listeners who have been quite patient with us. First, from our natural flowing conversation between Norbert, Camille, and myself, getting Mr. Vegas online was a little challenging, but we eventually got it. I'm so glad that we have royalty from the Caribbean here with us on such a really pertinent issue that is important for all the peoples of the Caribbean and the world. So, being brought to you through the kind courtesy and facilitation of Come See TV, and that is Come COMECSEE TV.com. Go online and see all the wonderful content that we have available for you wherever you are throughout the world. If you have a carnival event, a cultural event, the governments of the Caribbean, we need to have the awareness on this issue turned up quite a bit because too many people are still in the dark about rape, violence, and abuse. And so we can be that medium through which you can educate our citizens on information of the organizations to facilitate this partnership with Zandoli, with Leave Out Violence, with Jamaica Men Against Rape, and Come See TV. Um, the agents throughout the Caribbean, we can facilitate you. Just reach out to us, check our website, and we can make it happen. I'm looking at Camille. She has a samurai ninja figurine emotive here as we cut her off, right, Camille? So sorry about that. I'm not sure if you all are seeing it as well. Her, her ninja man is wielding a sword there about laughing out loud. We've cut her off. Camille, are you back with us?
She's here. I don't know what's wrong with her mic.
All right, so it seems that she's off right now.
No,
So
she's there. She's in.
she's on. Camille, we're not hearing you.
I think she's playing ninja.
Yeah, she is. It's quite funny, actually. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to wrap here. We want to thank you for spending the time with us from 5 p.m. to now. And it was continuous conversation. I am really impressed, and I want to congratulate all the organizations who have been working tirelessly to get the awareness about rape, violence, abuse against women and children and men, to have that awareness, to pique the interest, and also to get advocates on board. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have the Rape Crisis Society, and it was started in 1983. Miss Grace Talma and Associates and Educare Limited. Some of the things that I imagine we can do, we can all emulate from them. They have a hotline that's available 24/7. And I imagine, Mr. Vegas, your organization has that same kind of availability to the victims. No, but you all have that as well available, the 24/7 hotline.
Well, we don't have a hotline, but persons who need to reach out to us can do so through our Facebook page, as well as through the website. We have our email addresses on there. There's even a telephone number. So if they can do that. But one thing I would like to say, and I think it would be remiss of us if we do not take this, if we did not take this opportunity, and what Zandoli would like to say to the victims out there who have contacted us and those who are contemplating it, is that sometimes it may seem like nothing's happening, but we're doing a lot in the background. We're speaking with a lot of people. We're forging a lot of alliances with organizations and groups and special interests with this situation. And we want to promise the victims out there, those we have spoken to and those we will be speaking to, that we are not going to give up on you. We are letting you know that we are working for you. We are working to deal with this. And many of you have said that even though nothing happens for you, you would like to do something to protect our young people and people in the future. And we are going to keep our promise of working diligently for you. It's a very ungratifying position when you have to deal with people who, for no reason at all, will be against you for what you're doing, for what we're doing. But we have faced a lot of that, and we're continuing to do it. If you want to remain silent for now, you can. The time will be right when it's best for you. Do not feel pressured by anyone to come forward. When you're ready to do so, we'll be listening. We'll be more than willing to refer you to the necessary authorities and the necessary agencies who can assist you the best way that they can. But we're working for you and we're not giving up on you. Don't give up on us.
Great, absolutely, guys. Just to endorse what Norbert was saying there, thanks for sharing that, Norbert. Just some tips for our listeners. If you are aware of anyone who is struggling with the effects of being violated in any way, physically, mentally, emotional abuse, it comes in various different forms, and you need to show care and due attention to the individuals. There are a couple of things you can do. First, listen, be there for them, and communicate without judgment. I know it's difficult for us as Caribbean people. Sometimes we don't have a filter. We say what's at the tip of our tongues, and we express that quite animated in our responses. But listen, be there without judgment. Encourage persons who have been abused to seek medical attention. And it's really important for them to go to seek medical care immediately or as soon as possible after that tragic incident has taken place. I think Mr. Vegas was one of the first persons on the communications this evening who spoke about DNA and the impact of bringing forensics into the analysis to catch some of the perpetrators, because the reporting is very low, the detection is low, and arresting perpetrators and having them brought to justice is quite low. So you can help by going to your seeking medical attention for them to take a rape kit to check and see if you are physically okay, and also if there's a certain amount of damage that has been done to your body, bruises, lacerations, and so on, they can treat with you medically. Also, it's important for us to encourage survivors to get support. Um, as a survivor, already that strength, you are strong beyond your understanding. And there are a lot of organizations and persons out here who will be more than willing to assist and provide you with resources, information, and support to get the help that you need. Then be patient with yourself. Remember, there's no timeline for recovering from this type of trauma. No one should have to suffer the indignity of it, the injustice, the violation of being abused this way. But if, God forbid, this should happen, then be patient with yourself, and you have options available to you. For persons who might be at their wits' end and they're breaking at the seams and thinking that their only solution is a finite one, we ask you to consider reaching out to someone who is trained, who can assist you, who will be able to bring you back from the brink of just despair. And finally, reach out to someone who's trusted and communicate, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Caron Greaves from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm the team lead for CAMC TV here in Trinidad and Tobago for a team of agents. And we have been very pleased under the directorship of our leader, Mr. Lindsay George, CEO of CAMC TV, to bring this program to you this afternoon. We're just heading into the 7 o'clock hour, and I'll give each of our panel members one parting word as we sign off this evening. Starting with Norbert.
Well, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity for getting our message out. We've been exploring all avenues and mediums, social media, radio, TV, person to person, whatever way that we can in getting the message out. I think it's important, and we're continuing to work on getting the message out, continuing the discussion. Awareness is the first step in moving along the way to accomplishing our goals of a sex offender registry and protecting our children. And we have received a tremendous amount of support from St. Lucians at home, St. Lucians in the diaspora, in the US, the UK, in Canada. We've also received a lot of support from non-St. Lucians as well. And I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the work that other organizations have done before us, because they've paved the way for us to continue paving the way for others to join on and do something. CAFRA, PROSAF, Dr. King in St. Lucia with RISE, Taj Weeks with TOCO in St. Lucia, and the numerous other individuals and groups we may not know of, but have done things in their little way to fight the scourge which has been around for too long in the region. We'd like to recognize them as well. And again, thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to giving you some good news about the progress that we've made as the time goes by. Thank you.
Okay,
very
great.
much.
Thank you for that, Norbert. Mr. Vegas, your parting word. We just have about 5 minutes left.
I won't use so much. I'll just say thanks for the opportunity to speak with you guys on your platform. And you're listening. That is, I'm listening. Of course, I'm learning as I go along from you brilliant people. I want to give a shout out to Tamika. One of my close friends here in Trinidad. I also want to big up Camille and and Nyla for setting up these type of meetings that we can really spread the words across. I'm basically just a vehicle that people can use to spread the message out there.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Vegas. And Camille has sent a little note, a parting note as well. Camille says, volunteer anywhere in the world. Visit www.zandoli.org, click and make a difference, or click CCASC to sign up. That's CCASC to sign up. Ladies and gentlemen, Caron Greaves again from ComC TV. We have over 20 million hits on our website. So we know that we have an extensive platform from which we can launch the work that is now required to treat with this challenge of abuse and violence against our women and our children. Let us use our Caribbean community, this Caribbean village, to raise our children and to bring them successfully into their adulthood and continue the excellence and brilliance of the Caribbean people and all that we can bring to the world. This is Caron Greaves signing out. Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.
TV. Can you see me now? Okay, good evening, folks.
Good night.